As I'm here, so I will, before getting into the whole weather dissertation, wait for the text from Audrey to tell me whether or not we are streaming. So we've had a couple of issues here. So with that, you are looking at a MaxTrack Live. Actually, we're looking at the Louisville data at the moment because we have a couple of tornado warnings out toward the Louisville area. And Audrey says we are streaming. So here we go. All right, ready? Gonna be a long couple of days here. So with that said, we are at the moment looking at the National Weather Service radar out of Louisville because these are the closer radars to what are two tornado warnings to the west of Louisville at this point. So you're seeing them showing up here. We've got a couple of different things we can look in on. So we zoom in close. Neither one in the regular velocity display is showing much. Storm relative, you can see there's a little circulation around Bennettsville. Shear rate, where you're seeing these reds showing up, that's where it's a strong rotation being picked up by the radar, and that's then going through our algorithms that we have within our systems to show you where the most likely location of spinning is. And so that's what you're seeing with these storms that are in southern Indiana. Again, we are still the other side of Louisville with these storms. So as we're getting you set here, keep in mind we also have tornado watch up for a good part of the area. Closest other warning, there was a tornado warning earlier in Lewis County, far northeast corner, and then there are nasty, nasty storms up to the north. We're going to look at all those coming up. But again, closest tornado warnings, and these storms will eventually be impacting our area, are sitting out the other side of Louisville. So just to get an idea with the MaxTrack, they're actually now within the range of the MaxTrack. We're in a little shorter distance mode right now because we are in Doppler mode, so that means we are being able to pick up the wind. Normally, we're in what's called surveillance mode. That gives us a much broader, in fact, hundreds of miles of scanning ability. When we're in Doppler mode, we're down to 90. So the storms are by Corydon, Indiana, and then north of Louisville. And our velocity display off of Max, again, you're seeing the reds and greens next to each other, so there are indeed some circulations going on with those storms. So let's take you to the whole weather presentation that we got in store for you. Here's the big picture. First with the MaxTrack again live here at 9:20. And at 9:20, where did Bill leave his? There's Bill's clicker. Hold on while Bill gets his clicker. All right, so again, we've got the storms northeast and northwest of central Kentucky at this point. As we advance things forward here for you, what we're going to look at for tonight, and this will be kind of putting everything in perspective. First of all, there is your tornado watch, and that tornado watch is covering central, northeast Kentucky all the way down then toward Lake Cumberland. So some of the counties there from the Weather Service office in Jackson, Fleming County. The edges: Fleming County, Bath County, Montgomery, Clark, Madison, Garrett, Lincoln, Casey, Russell. From there north and west. So it does obviously include Lexington. That's until 3 a.m. So that's the picture with that. So stay weather aware. The watch is your time to think. With Bill's Weather 101s, whenever we're talking with the kids, that's what we emphasize. The watch is your time to think, where is my safe spot? Because when the warning is issued, you may have a few minutes or less to get to your safe spot. Most of tomorrow will be fine, and there is actually a greater severe weather risk tomorrow afternoon and evening. The storms that came through earlier today, those were actually the same squall line that did the damage in Oklahoma last night. As we've gone through this evening here, so again, you've seen this evolution. So what we've got up here in Ohio, this is turning into what's called an MCV, a mesoscale convective vortex, or a mesoscale convective system, MCS. It's got some tornadoes on that flank right there. What will likely happen with this is this will begin to dive southward. This part will likely stay fairly stationary, but the southern flank was what will dive southward. And so that'll increase our severe weather risk a little bit later on tonight. What will be interesting also to see happen is that when this catches up to these individual supercells that are sitting out here. So again, there is a risk developing as we continue through the night. Locally heavy rain is going to be a possibility as well. So that severe weather risk remains enhanced through tonight. And again, the greater threat at this point looks to be the northern flank of this. Even where there's a slight risk, especially if that MCS dives southward, we could see a damaging wind potential out of that. So again, a lot to keep in mind for tonight. There is your tornado risk. That's a 10%. So it means 10%, 25 miles from any given point. That a tornado is a possibility, and actually there's also a hatched area in that where a strong tornado remains a possibility. They pulled the hail out of that. Okay, so we'll check on that. So severe weather risk for tomorrow, and again it covers the entire area with the enhanced risk. Don't be surprised if it may end up being more of a moderate risk, maybe out that direction, maybe a little bit further northeast, but that's the bottom line, is that there is a severe weather risk. That's the 10% risk of a tornado tomorrow, but you can't discount any of this either. And so even though the chances are greater down here for a tornadic storm, 25 miles from any given point, you can't, you got 5 and 2% with those possibilities as well. The possibility of hail, that's a 30% risk, 1 in 3 shot of getting hail that's 1 inch or larger, and you actually have a 10% on top of that, 2 inches or larger. That gets above golf ball, just below tennis ball, but 2 inches and plus. So again, the potential for large hail and also flooding rain is going to be a big player, I think, tomorrow evening. So let's go with the future track here. You see the storms moving in. This is a combination modeling-wise of the HRR, the HRR, and our BAMs. And so by 11 o'clock, the storms that are currently out in here, you see them coming in through the Louisville metro, maybe up more toward northern Kentucky there, up around the Cincinnati metro. We work then toward 1 o'clock, and you see how these storms are diving in. So the possibility in the hours after midnight that you are looking at strong storm, severe storm, potential, we're on the tornado watch, so that is in the cards as well. So the front stalls out and then begins heading north again tomorrow. As that happens, we are now firmly in the warm sector here. You notice that most of the day, there's noon, nothing much is going on. We continue then, though, toward the latter part of the afternoon. Now you see this line develop. Now what's interesting here is that you have a line oriented this way and lines that are oriented this way. So that implies that there is shear. And what's really interesting with this, so if this comes into play, this is going to also be some really heavy rain in and around central Kentucky. But you also have, I'm trying to find a better way for this to show up. You've got these inflows going in to that line, and so the potential for spin certainly exists, especially near where those lines are perpendicular. Weather does not like perpendicular as a general rule, and so we get you toward the evening, and you see again individual squall lines, which that's a different evolution than what the modeling was showing earlier. So this is the 18Z run. The 12Z run, it evolved it into just a pure squall line. This keeps more individual clusters of supercells together. So again, that may lead to a very active day on Wednesday into Wednesday night. I think that's the last of the main graphics I had. Yeah, now they're getting into temperatures and stuff. So let's go back over to the radar here real quick, and keep in mind we do have the watch that's up. So we'll just talk here again, just a real quick overview of what's going on one more time for you. Tornado warnings are north and west of Louisville. We have a tornado watch that is up. There's your tornado watch. For central Kentucky, northeast Kentucky, and then down toward Lake Cumberland until 3 a.m. The arrival time on these particular cells, assuming that they maintain that direction. In fact, now we've just gone over to a confirmed tornado, that again north of Louisville. So that is why the change over to purple happened. So that is now a confirmed, not just radar indicated, but that is now a confirmed tornado in southern Indiana. And just got a note from the engineer, Paul. So thanks, Paul. We got it figured out. So again, the arrival time, so we're at 9:30 here. This comes into the Louisville metro in the next half hour, which would put the arrival time 127 corridor near 11. Give or take a little bit. It might be a little bit after 11, assuming that doesn't speed up. And then the line that's up here to the north, which also has the various warnings in it and a ton of lightning. That will be arriving in the hours after midnight. So what do? Keep this handy. And by this, I mean your phone, but keep the Storm Tracker weather app handy. Have it with you tonight when you go to bed. Because if you've got the alerts set for you, if necessary, it should hopefully wake you up. The storm tomorrow will be late in the day into the evening. So most of the day, again, is fine. So go about your business. Do whatever you normally do. As we head toward the latter part of the day, stay aware of your situation. Stay aware of your surroundings. Know where the safe spot is, just in case. As you go to bed tonight, think about, okay, in my house, where is the safe spot? And, well, as long as we're here, we can show you what we always talk about. And if we get into severe weather situations, you will see this, the sea duck. And it's the close the interior doors, compartmentalize your house. Think of it like a submarine. What they didn't do on the Titanic. You compartmentalize everything so that you try and, instead of having one big structure, you have a bunch of little structures, and that can help mitigate some of the damage if the worst case scenario happens. Be downstairs, lowest level you got. Basement if you got it, ground floor if you don't. Get under something big, heavy, and sturdy. In my house, it's a staircase we get underneath. Under a table, inside a bathtub. Again, something that can protect you from flying debris. Center part of the house, use the walls as layers of protection, and then keep away from windows and doors, sources of flying glass. So that is how you can remain safe. So again, here's your situation now. Again, looking at the storms in the Cincinnati metro and the Louisville metro, still a couple of hours away for most of us. All right, that's it. They're getting ready to use the studio for some stuff here, and I'm glad it worked. Let me find that. There we go. I'm glad it worked. And for those of you who are along here, I don't have any questions that I could look at, so I apologize for not being able to answer any specifically because I don't have them. But the bottom line is we'll watch these storms. The threat right now greater for tornadoes is north. We could see some strong damaging wind potential area wide, or at least in the watch area here, well after midnight tonight. And that can go farther to the south as that line that is sitting up here, as that drops southward. So there's your setup. We'll have more obviously coming up for you at 11 o'clock on LEX 18. And again, just keep your Storm Tracker weather app handy. And thanks for watching our streams here on YouTube. I assume we are there. And on Facebook. So again, I think if I hit this button, the stream will stop. Have a good evening. Stay safe and keep it on LEX 18.